Hey friends, welcome back to Guess What? Compliance can be simple. This is your host, Dr. Natasha Guess, and today we are diving into the world of CMS. We will be discussing what CMS really looks for during reviews and audits, because this is an area where misunderstanding causes practices to overcorrect, it causes practices to over-document, and sometimes it creates risk where it did not need to exist. Now, this episode is for education and compliance support only and not legal advice. Okay, let's jump into it. I know that CMS audits feel intimidating. I have been in several of them, and it always seems that, okay, maybe they are looking for issues. And a lot of practices, they tend to think the same way I did initially when I started with CMS audits. You sit there and you receive that engagement notice and you're like, oh my God, either we did something wrong or CMS is trying to find something that we did wrong. And that immediately triggers fear. I've also seen and heard from practice providers that CMS audits are designed to catch mistakes. They're designed to assign blame. And then that escalates small errors into major problems. There's a common belief that CMS audits are designed to catch mistakes, to assign blame, and to escalate small errors into major problems. And let me tell you, that type of belief is what shapes behavior. Practices become more defensive, documentation starts becoming inflated, and then internal reviews are avoided out of the fear of discovering issues. That, ironically, is fear-based response that creates the very problem CMS is concerned about. But let me explain to you what CMS is actually trying to understand when they are auditing or doing a review. They are not primarily focused on whether a practice ever makes a mistake. They're focused on whether a practice understands its own operation. CMS wants to see whether there are systems in place to ensure that the services you are billing are supported, that your staff members are trained, and that issues are identified and addressed. They do not expect perfection. What they do not expect either is a lack of oversight. And time and again, speaking with practice owners, one of the most common missteps that I have seen is that they focus exclusively on documentation detail instead of documentation consistency. Some practices, they tend to make notes longer, they add unnecessary language, or they rely heavily on templates without understanding whether the notes they're actually writing reflects the care they provided. And at the same time, they are not reviewing their charts, they're not tracking errors, and they're not documenting follow-up. Now, when CMS looks at it from that perspective, that looks like you're having activity without awareness. Let me give you an example. I worked with a small practice that believed their biggest CMS risk was documentation quality. They took the time and rewrote templates and instructed staff to add more detail to every single note they made. What the practice did not do was review charts regularly or document any type of internal monitoring. So when CMS requested their records, the notes themselves, they were adequate. The issue is that the practice could not explain how it knew its documentation was compliant. There were no audit logs, no education records, and absolutely no evidence of corrective action. And guess what? CMS was not concerned about isolated errors. They were concerned that no one appeared to be paying attention. Oversight is mandatory. It is not optional. And CMS views oversight as a sign of organizational responsibility. So if your practice can identify issues and they can educate staff and then show improvement, that demonstrates to CMS maturity in your compliance program or your compliance operations. A practice that claims everything is perfect all of the time raises concern. And oversight tells this story. This is how we monitor. It tells this is what we found. And it tells this is what we did about it. So if an auditor walks into your practice or you receive that engagement notice, and you can tell your story of how, when, where, and what we did about an issue when we found it, that demonstrates that you are actively pursuing oversight, that you are actively monitoring the issues within your practice. And that is good news for you, and that reflects really well if you have an audit with CMS. Now, I love to do my mini audit moments, so here we go. If CMS asks how you know your documentation supports what you bill, could you explain that process step by step? If not, the risk isn't your documentation, it's the absence of oversight. This is exactly the type of CMS clarity we work through inside my Compliance Support Hub. We focus on helping practices build realistic oversight processes that actually work in day-to-day operations. Now, if you're interested in joining the Compliance Support Hub, you can go to my website at guestcomplianceconsultingllc.com and you can join from there. Now, let's get back to the issue at hand. Now, many practice owners have asked me, what does a healthier CMS compliance approach look like? And time and again, I explain that a healthier approach starts with regular, simple chart reviews. It includes documented education when your issues are identified and tracking those follow-ups. And it also prioritizes consistency over complexity and transparency over fear. Those practices that take this type of approach are far more confident and far more resilient during audits. I need you to remember that CMS compliance is not about avoiding scrutiny. It's about being able to explain what you do, why you do it, and how you know it's working. So, keep that in mind, and until next time, keep it simple, keep it compliant, and take care of your patients.